very cozy. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we're kind of back. No? Yeah, we're kind of back. We are kind of back. We are back. First podcast together as parents. Oh. And boy, has it been 15 months and a half.
Yeah.
So much so, I was talking about you on the last episode of the podcast. And you can tell by Chelsea's yawning.
Yeah.
She's been working harder than ever. Yeah.
It's true.
Okay, we're going to get to all of that. We're going to get to Chelsea's brand new mega job, catch up on this not being two base hit, but all the things that have happened since that.
Mm-hmm.
I've had a non-stop barrage of people asking for that to come back, so we will have to bring that back. I will say that I'm on an absolute mission right now with the YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's actually going out on a dedicated podcast channel now. All the podcasts related to me and to us when we do things together are all happening on the new podcast channel. So go subscribe to that. Also subscribe to the main channel. The goal is 100,000 subscribers by April. Just a little layover towards 1 million by the end of the year.
And what do they get if you reach 100,000 by April?
Well, I did mention this, actually.
Bake a cake?
Well, I said when the vlog was in existence, because it was the whole Hello Coffee Drinkers thing, that if we hit 500,000, I'd drink a cup of coffee.
That is the most expensive cup of coffee.
A cup of coffee that costs 500,000 subscribers?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Wow.
I think that should be 100,000.
A few people were into it, but of course we never hit 500,000, and that was in 2017. So
yeah, because that's not a good enough.
Yeah.
You gotta sell your left arm or something.
I'm not doing any of that. You know, people sell parts of their body for advertising, like for tattoos now, for extortionate amounts of money.
Why are we talking about this?
Because you're talking about selling my left arm to get 500,000
I meant like
subscribers.
a fedora or something, not like...
I don't have any fedoras left.
That's sad.
I'm out of fedora. You're just now she's just looking around my studio.
I forgot. I forgot we don't have them anymore.
Now she's just looking around my studio. You're looking around my studio for stuff to sell regardless of how many subscribers I get.
That's true.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's talk Disney, my favorite subject.
You asked me here.
I know. I'm actually really excited to talk about it. It was interesting. Like, we just had dinner with your parents tonight. First real, like, full family, West Coast family hang in a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
Some people meeting Lily for the first time. She was a bit of a superstar.
She was. She kicked ass.
Is she going to be a Vibes player or what?
Oh, my God.
Oh.
It was a little eerie, honestly.
It was
a little weird. She was too good.
Hitting melodies and resolutions and...
Well, I was kind of helping her with that. It was really the technique of she nailed the center of the bar every time. Like, she didn't miss a single note. It was very strange.
I'm glad I was rolling tape for that.
Yeah, me too.
We have that. It was cute because Chelsea's dad, for anyone who doesn't know, Chelsea's dad's a drummer and a tuned percussionist, plays vibes, marimba, all kinds of it. Like, he has a lot of instruments back there in the studio.
Oh, yeah. We've always had vibes and marimba, full drum set, piano,
there's
timpani, congas.
He said a
bongos.
Pandemic gift to himself was that he bought the Louis Conte conga set during the pandemic. I didn't realize Louis Conte was one of his teachers back in the day. Yeah. That's awesome. But the lineage of your family in Disney goes back kind of far.
It does.
In that.
I was trying to come up with a joke and it didn't happen fast enough.
Come on. Do you want time to think about it?
No. I was going to say, no, they're not good jokes.
I was meant to have the dad jokes.
It wasn't a dad joke.
Okay.
The cat is poking around and she's distracting me.
Oh,
hi, kitty.
Okay.
Okay, so yes.
We are off the rails. First 5 minutes.
Body parts selling. Okay, so my parents met working at Disneyland.
Right.
My dad was a drummer there for 15 years, and my mom did various characters and parades and stunt shows and all sorts of cool stuff.
Right.
So back in the day at Disneyland, there were no rules like there are now.
About fraternizing?
No.
Oh.
I mean rules about like your children sitting backstage and watching you while you
so
work all day.
Allowed to hang out.
I was allowed to.
No, as cast members, you were allowed to hang out with each other, fraternize, shall we say.
That is still completely not what I'm talking about.
I know.
Okay.
That was what I was talking about. I was just making sure that you could actually do that back in the day and that your parents weren't breaking the rules by having you.
You can still do that now, and many people do.
Okay.
Anyway.
Are we naming names?
No. Well, I mean, yeah.
Okay, go on. Go on.
Name names?
I meant about people now.
Yeah, Ryan and Noelle.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
lots and lots of people. Also, their parents also met working at Disneyland. It's really, we're just like an incestual cult down there. Okay. I'm going to be real. Anyway, my parents joined the cult. They had me. And back then there was not as much micromanagement as there is today. So they got to bring me to work every day, which meant I literally grew up at Disneyland. Like my daycare, basically.
From like a really young age, right?
Like literally 0. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think I was 6 or 8 weeks old the first time I went.
And I thought Lily went young.
Yeah, I beat her by like 2 weeks. She was there at 8 weeks, though.
8 weeks?
Yeah. But yeah, there's a very cute picture of my dad holding me backstage as a tiny little baby. And yeah, so that was my childhood, kind of, was just being raised by Disney musicians and dancers and stage managers and sound techs and stuff like that. So
it's funny being at family events, like as an outsider here, meeting all those people and seeing how varied the list of positions they held were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's nice to kind of have that sort of variety in my life as something that's always been a constant. You know, like there's a dancer friend of ours who's also a crazy... So if you've ever seen a fireworks show at Disneyland, there's very often... Tinkerbell will sometimes jump out of the Matterhorn and fly on a rope to the castle. And that is one of my parents' best friends, one of the women who does that. And I
met Tinkerbell at a wedding. Not many people can say that.
It's true.
Met Tinkerbell at a wedding, yes.
Yes. And her husband is a very esteemed sound guy.
Oh, yeah.
And their kids both worked in parades growing up at Disney. So it really just... Once you're in the cult, it's hard to leave.
And you worked there.
I did.
A long time. I mean, like, I came to see you play there. Ellis Island Boys, I think, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, playing upright and singing and doing all kinds of stuff. When Lily was born and we took her at 8 weeks old, you were playing. Mm-hmm. 8 weeks out of the hospital and you were up on stage rocking out doing the holiday season. But now... I'm so excited for you to tell people about this. Come on.
Oh, haven't you told them?
No, I was waiting.
Sorry.
I wanted
I didn't realize this was the big reveal.
Yeah. I didn't want to burst your bubble for you.
So now I am the associate music producer for Disney Live Entertainment.
Worldwide.
Which means that for every theme park, cruise ship, resort, whatever, Aulani in Hawaii, all of these things... My department makes the music happen, basically, for literally everything.
And we're talking about Tokyo, Shanghai, Paris, Orlando, Anaheim, you know.
Yes. There is another team similar to ours in Orlando, and together we kind of split up the extra events, like on the cruise ships and things like that.
Right.
They tend to kind of do the Paris stuff and the Orlando stuff, and then we do LA, Tokyo, Shanghai, and Hong Kong.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a lot of work for a very small team. There's a principal music director who is my boss. There's the managing producer who does some producing, definitely, but he's also kind of the office manager who's worked there for 30 years. He just knows everything. Yeah. And then there's 2 music producers who are on the ground just doing everything they can. And then there's me who kind of, I wouldn't even say I'm a catch-all. They've kind of been throwing me some cool stuff.
Some really specific stuff, actually.
Yeah, I think it's more that... because there's so much going on that is sustained, like there's music groups that have to have rehearsals year long, and they're hiring new people and having auditions all the time. The other two music producers are focused on that stuff all the time. It's insanely busy. They're in rehearsals. They're in overnight rehearsals. And so what kind of was happening was the special event stuff was the stuff that people didn't have time to do.
Right, which is what you started doing like right away.
Yeah. So that
huge events for thousands of people.
Yeah. So that was kind of my first, they threw me in the deep end in the strongest sense of that phrase. But it was exactly what I love to do. I got a lot of creative control and got to work with super cool people. My very first job that I did with live musicians was with a 14-piece jazz band. Susan Egan, who was the original Belle on Broadway in Beauty and the Beast, and also the voice of Meg from Hercules, and John Stamos.
That's kind of random.
Yeah, so it was...
And John Stamos playing drums, right?
He did. He was the MC of the event, and then he also played drums on a chart that I arranged. And 4 vocalists on that gig, too, who were ridiculously talented. So... yeah.
I think what a lot of people listening who aren't affiliated with Disney, and I know for myself, I had no idea about this, even though I'd heard the stories of like Eric Marienthal, like literally getting the call in the band room from Chick Corea to join the Electric Band.
Yeah.
Like that was my only real thing that I knew about Disney. I was like, whoa. So like some cool people actually came out of that, but the depth and the sheer volume of musicians that are there is outrageous.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like a massive source of employment in Southern California, right?
It is, and it's one of the best, it on and off has been one of the best places for musicians, one of the best places for musicians to work, because there are so many opportunities amongst the many bands that we have. Like, if you're a sax player, there's like 6 different groups that you can play in. So even if you're just a sub in all of those groups, the likelihood that you'll be working a lot is pretty high. So yeah, we do get a lot of feed from the local colleges. You know, there's USC and UCLA and all the Cal State schools. And we get a lot of people who move to LA to make it and end up getting a job at Disney as kind of their side hustle. And it's great because it's like a
regular employment.
It's regular employment. It's union work.
Keep
So
your chops together.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's very different. It's working in a theme park is different than anything else.
It has some like almost negative connotations when you just say the job title.
Yeah.
That's why I want to make people aware. Like the thing with like cruise ships, and like there are certain things that like have a negative connotation to them that actually have some positive attributes.
I think they do in general. Like when I say theme park, I hate calling Disney a theme park because it's really not. It's really not a theme park.
There are theme parks. But it is above. You're saying it's like in a league above a theme park, right? Because it's so diverse, or what?
Yeah, I mean, when I say theme park, I think of like Six Flags.
Yeah, or Knott's
Berry Farm. I think Six Flags is a little more universal.
Sure.
Or what's the one in in Copenhagen?
Huh. Oh, Tivoli Gardens?
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, theme parks to me are like that. They're like a little dirty. You're probably going to eat some cotton candy that you don't know how
a little more carnival
there.
Than Hollywood.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly. You're going to go on a ride that's probably going to make you puke.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, and if that doesn't, the food will have done.
Yes, exactly. So when I think theme park, that's what I think. Same thing with cruise. Like you think of a cruise, you think of
Princess Cruise or something, or
Royal
Caribbean.
I don't want to name names.
Oh, you don't want to name names? Okay, I don't know anything about them. I've never done one.
I think of like retirees or.
The actual vibe of the regardless of being a musician or not, right. The kind of people that go on cruises.
Totally. Shit. And so the Disney cruises, the Disney theme parks, quote unquote, are not like that.
Right.
They're completely different. Disneyland.
It's also for families, right? So you get young people there. Mm-hmm. You know, when we go together, like as we have done a lot. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's kind of a crazy age range. It's like 8 months to 80 years old, right?
Yeah, it is, and that's part of what makes it magical. Really, is that age range can enjoy it for themselves in
Right.
so many different ways. There's just so much to offer. And the music is really everywhere. It's in all of those things.
It's crazy, actually, that since you got the job, when we walk through the park now, I not only notice that there's music everywhere, but I'm like, hey, did you do that? Hey, is that you? Is that your playlist? Is that your arrangement? It's like, did you write this tune?
Yeah, not yet.
Pregunta. Question. Do you remember your very first gig, freelance gig, in the park at Disney?
Yeah, it was Ellis Island Boys.
And do you know how old you were or when that was?
22.
22. So like 3 years ago. Okay.
It was actually almost exactly a decade ago.
Okay. So 22 years old, first gig. And to me, it's crazy because you know everyone there. Like, you've played there so much, and just all of your gigging friends around Southern California also tend to have gigs there at some point or another.
Yeah.
What's the biggest change coming into that? Like, hey, I'm the boss.
Honestly, I was really nervous about that because there's something about being the camaraderie that comes from being in the gigging landscape, and you know that everyone is as in the trenches as you are.
Right.
None of us are each other's bosses.
So there's some camaraderie there.
Like that word that I just said. Yeah.
Did you? Oh my God. Oh, shit.
Anyway, yes, but with your comrades, you are not.
Okay, comrade. I'm also not ignoring you with my phone. I've realized that we don't have our baby monitor on, and we are both downstairs.
Oh, that's not good.
We're both downstairs in my studio, and Lily is hopefully sleeping. So I'm just firing up. Oh, and she's out. Great. That's good. That's good. We're good.
Oh, she's so cute. Look at that little nugget.
So normally, okay. Normally you're upstairs and I'm downstairs. So there's one of us close by, and I always have the thing on blasting like. I think it's affecting me psychologically.
He's
What?
He's mimicking the white noise machine. It's not like we have a radio from 1935.
Oh, no. I'm not trying to get Radio Berlin over here like pirate. No. Okay. Yeah. So the camaraderie, now that we've said that word 3 times. Sorry.
Okay. So yes, when you call your friends for a gig, you're still not even their boss. You're just their homie who got them a gig. And
as an employee like you are now, or before, you mean?
I mean, in the freelance world.
In the freelance world, yeah. Okay,
yes.
Gotcha.
So I was a little nervous about stepping into a role with all of these musicians who have always known me as one of their peers.
Right.
And I'm a lot younger than a lot of them. I have a lot less experience, sort of, in certain things. I think the one thing that does really help is how much Disney experience I have and how much varied experience I have. But there are jazz musicians at the park that could play circles around me. They're just insane musicians and such great people. And so
there's also a range of age and like experience there as well. Like there are older musicians in their 60s still playing there. Like okay. And as young as like you were at early 20s.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
College
20,
age. Yeah.
19. There's little
okay.
But there's a lot of people that I literally grew up in this business with.
Right.
And I think the one thing that made me take a huge gave me a sigh of relief, was that I heard over and over from those people, we're so glad that it's you that was in that position, because we know it's someone that we can trust.
Gotcha.
And not even trust to watch their backs or trust to know what they need, but they said someone we trust.
Yeah, and they've been around you.
What's what? Like we trust that you know what you're doing,
and you've experienced all the downsides that they hate, and you can do something about that.
Right.
And I'm just turning off the heater here.
Why? Couldn't?
Because it's really loud, and I only just remembered it's on, and it's warm down here.
It's not. It's freezing.
You got a big blanket and a dog to keep you warm. Okay, so that's kind of awesome perspective on it. Can I tell a little bit of the story of your like part of your interview where you were on the Zoom call?
Sure.
Like when you say like you have Disney experience, I don't think people understand quite how much Disney experience you have.
Oh Lord.
So because
Are you outing me right now?
not at all. I think this was. I have thought about this so often since you told it to me.
Okay.
Since you told me this is what happened in one of your many. This was a really long process.
Lord.
I mean, we should talk about this for a second, just to give context of like you started middle of May of 2022.
Yeah.
But when did you first start even thinking about applying for the job? Like months before that, right?
I heard about the job in August of 2021.
Okay.
And I applied for it in September when I was 2 weeks away from giving birth to Lily.
Right.
And I didn't get the job until she was 7 months old.
Right. And it was a long process.
Yeah, and there were interviews. I mean, I didn't hear anything back from them. I thought that they had just filled the position and moved on. And then suddenly in like the end of March, the middle of March, I got
all sort of started.
An email that was like, hello, you've been selected as a potential candidate for this job. And
for the end of the process, but there were still multiple people.
Yeah.
Like they'd gone through hundreds of people already and whittled it down to a few. And then was it you and like 2 other people right at the end?
Yeah, but I mean, there were like 20 people left when I did an HR call. And then I went through the first round of interviews, and that was another 10 people. And then, it was me and I think 1 or 2 other people at the very end.
So I think some of these other people that would be fair to say that these other people who interviewed along with you at the same time were Disney fans, and I think maybe claimed to be Disney fans. Well, they were like, hey, I love Disney, and I think that's kind of essential for the gig, right? Mm-hmm. But one of the comments I remember was like, you were on a Zoom call, multiple people. And I think towards the end of one of the interviews, or wherever it was, you stopped and maybe the person's, let's call him Steve, or I don't know who it was, John, it doesn't matter who it is, and you just said that person, hey, John, are you like the guy's completely blacked out, sitting on a chair with no identifying characteristics anywhere in the frame? And Chelsea says, John, whoever it was.
It was John, actually.
His name is John?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. So, John, are you sitting in the Hyperion Theatre? It was the Hyperion, right? Yeah. Apparently he looked a little shocked, as did everyone else on the call. That's how Disney you are. From a freaking low-light Zoom call with no identifying characteristics in the shot, you could identify the theater this person was sitting in. And I think the feedback was like, you other people might be Disney fans, but you're not anywhere close to understanding Disney like Chelsea does.
Okay, let's tell the truth. The reason they said that was because in my first interview with who would be and are now my bosses, at the end of it, they kind of said like, all right, go for it. Like, tell us why you should have this job. And I instantly burst into tears.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had this
There's
really, I mean, you know how bad I am with names, so I can't remember who said this. But in preparation for the interview, I had been on Disney Plus watching all of these and rewatching all of these documentaries.
I remember.
That were amazing, though. They were so
true,
good. There's
true.
a whole documentary series on Imagineering, which I 1,000% recommend if you haven't seen it. And there was one of the main Imagineers from back when Walt was still alive said something like, Disney's so important because as long as Disneyland exists, you'll know that everything is going to be okay. Like the feeling of Disneyland is so important because when you go in there, no matter what is happening in your life that is tragic or horrific or whatever, you can just put that all aside for a minute
and have fun.
And that is like soul healing, you know, that kind of ability to just go experience people being nice to you and everyone is there to make memories and have a good time. And that feeling has just permeated my entire life. And, you know, in my interview, I was like, you know, my life hasn't really always been a rosy place.
Right.
And yet this like constant of Disneyland in my life has changed me. It's made me who I am, and that like no matter what was going on outside of me, I always felt like I knew that I would be okay. And
that's a pretty compelling way to interview. Like if I was an interviewer, I would be like, I know, and that's
I know,
always,
but that's-
the truth is always the most compelling thing, right? You know?
But that's why, it wasn't the Hyperion that made them say that. It was like, oh, no, yeah, Chelsea, okay.
Can you start tomorrow?
Yeah.
Wow. So, what a lot of people don't know about you, and which I have learned about you over these almost 6 years now. You like to stack your schedule.
Oh God.
Yeah.
You're one to talk, but
hey, no, I will happily admit I'm the same way. That's maybe something we have in common. But it's not like you took your foot off the gas with other projects.
Yes, I did.
I mean, yeah, okay, you did.
I did, but
this
job is like 10 times what my other projects used to be. And
in terms of workload.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm
absolutely.
continuing to do things on the outside anyway.
Little things. But like your little things are going in and orchestrating for like Chloe and Halle and whoever else you've been working with, Beyonce and all these people. I guess my first question is like, how much do you miss the freedom versus how much do you not miss I don't know when the next one's going to be. You know, that call for session for studio work is like, some people it's every day because they've been doing it for 40 years, but you haven't, I haven't, we know a lot of people don't, but you do big things, but sometimes they're like a month or two between the calls.
Oh yeah, or more.
Or more even, yeah.
I mean, you know, that classic thing of one day you're on the steps of Versailles, like playing with John Bon Jovi, and then the next day you're like doing this shitty restaurant gig for $50.
Can I get my rent for the idea of the month?
It's like the life of a musician. So yeah, I've been living that life for a really long time. My first gigs out of college were so cool, and then I instantly went into playing $9 $50 gigs a week after that for years. So anyway, shockingly, I am 100% happier where I am now than where I was then.
Amazing.
I think I would miss the freedom more if we didn't also have a child, which is kind of clouding how much my lack of free time is because of my job and how much of it is because we have a kid.
Okay.
So I don't really know where the line is there.
So if we were, childless, it might be a little bit of a different landscape.
Yeah, but at the same time, my job is shockingly flexible for
yeah, it's true.
The workload, yes, gets intense, but very similar to being a freelancer. I kind of go through weeks of insane amount of work, and then I'll have a week or two where I'm...
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, I knew this because you played gigs there since we were together, but even more so now that you're running a lot of these things. What a lot of people might not know is that at Disney... the park is open from like 7 in the morning until 10 at night or something like that.
It varies, but usually
Roughly.
It's somewhere around 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So basically anything new that has to go up can't be rehearsed between those hours.
Right, because there's people there and they can't see it.
Yeah, they can't see it. So there are things called overnights and these happen all the time. It's the only time things can be, and they have to be rehearsed in the place they're going to be performed. Right,
because how are you going to?
Right,
you can't just run things all you want in a
soundstage
warehouse.
Or something. Yeah. And there's like choreography, and there's that car thing that has to be driven, like all kinds of things
for that one specific show,
but there's just so many.
There's so
variations,
many parts. Right,
moving parts.
Yeah,
marching band. It's not just on a stage somewhere.
Exactly.
Even though there are some stage shows, and even the stage shows have other elements to them. It feels like people going out into the crowd.
Absolutely.
So. Sometimes your work hours are immensely undesirable when your call time...
For most people.
The night hermit.
Yeah, it's true.
So sometimes I'm like, we put Lily to bed. I was about to say put Chelsea to bed. We put Lily to bed.
I wish.
At like 8 o'clock, and then sort of twiddle our thumbs for 3 hours, and then Chelsea goes to work.
Yeah.
And doesn't come back until 5 or 6 in the morning when the sun's coming up.
And LA traffic is already back on the roads. God, that's the worst.
You do get the worst part of that then coming up.
Yeah, but there's honestly, I love overnights. I hate what they do to us.
Yeah.
I hate what they do to my health most of the time.
Yeah, they're not very
but
healthy.
when I'm there, I think it's also very much how you feel about traveling, in the sense that when you're thinking about it, you're dreading it.
Uh-huh.
And then you get there and you're like, oh, I'm in my element. Like, I'm owning this right now. And
I mean, yeah, you've seen that in me since we've been
Right.
together. I literally do not want to leave the house.
yeah, you get literally nauseous, like physically nauseous.
Yeah, I'm just like walking around kind of gaunt.
Yeah,
And
he mopes.
I do mope those last few hours. Or the night before is the worst, because I normally have an early flight because I fly out of Burbank all the time now. So the night before is the worst. You get a shit night of sleep. And then bing bong. It's like that first, I walk on the plane and bing bong. Da, 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 da. I mean, I'm
Forgets he has a wife at home.
No.
Forgets he has a kid that's
No.
screaming. and
Come
shit.
on.
I'm kidding.
I totally do. No, I'm kidding. No, I don't. But there is something that, like you said, a switch that gets flipped once you get in it.
Yeah. So when I'm there, it's one of the most fun, creative parts of the process because everything has been lined up. Everyone's in costume.
Right.
All the rehearsals or the 2 weeks of rehearsals you just did are coming to fruition.
Right. Because you do
And-
rehearse off campus and then put it into dress rehearsals or overnight.
We have rehearsal halls
Right.
at Disney
Right.
backstage. And so, yeah, we usually do 2 full weeks of that. And then, yeah, the overnight is the only time we have as dress rehearsal. So for me, there's an insanely magical quality of being inside the parks with no one else in them.
I was going to say, like, that's something nobody gets to see, really.
Yeah.
Like, of the millions of people that go there, a fraction of 1% actually gets to see, whoa, this place. Like, I've never been there overnight with you. I'm not even sure I'm allowed to.
I doubt you will be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the amount of things that happen to make Disneyland the place it is, it's jobs that don't exist anywhere else. Because the people you see, I mean, yeah, like there are people out there power washing the roads and
Right.
like the janitor team has kind of already gone home though because
Right.
they picked up all the trash, they go to sleep. But the people who come out in the middle of the night are like the specialty painters who are fixing up like Pinocchio's face outside of the ride, and the horticulture team is insane.
It's true, yeah.
They replace flowers every single day to make sure that they look great, and then they take the ones that are kind of the plants that aren't doing so well and they take them back and they revitalize them and then they bring them out and replant them. So really what you're seeing out there is just these artisans of
Right.
insanely cool different
Backgrounds.
Yeah.
Stuff, yeah.
disciplines.
Yeah. This.
So yeah, when you're walking through, you know, I very often like to go in my overnights in the back of Disneyland, and I walk from Small World through the back of the castle, and it's so cool to just walk through there and then look around, and there's just like gardeners everywhere with like
Right.
flowers hanging from trucks, and it's like, you know, it's really cold and it's 2:00 in the morning, and I always have my favorite Starbucks. I'm just like, damn, this is cool. Yeah, sorry, I'm a fucking dork. Anyway, are we talking about music, right? What were you talking about?
No, this is. It's just a whole other lane of awareness that opened up to me where watching you do this thing. I mean, something I'm incredibly proud of you for, and very happy for you that you're doing it. And I see it brings you an incredible amount of joy, as tough as it is sometimes, and as insanely hectic as our lives are right now. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. So that deserves even more respect. It's just opened up this whole thing of where like corporate meets music that I've never witnessed from kind of the inside via your,
Well, I had
story.
never experienced it either. So.
Sure. I think most musicians, the closest they get is playing like corporate gigs,
Yeah.
but never actually being inside the corporate structure of healthcare and dental care and vision and all these other things that go with it, and 401ks and like the actual corporate America.
Right. And I will say it's very different. I'm glad I had the experience of working with some artists who it's kind of like their way or the highway.
Okay.
Quite literally, like you might do a bunch of work and they'll say, nope, I don't want it that way anymore. And they toss it out. And it's,
Well,
it's very different.
oh, she's just out of
I
camera
know.
shot, but her shadow is in the camera now.
Hi, Charlotte.
Charlotte's come to join
The
us.
kitty just jumped on the couch. Hi, baby.
Yeah,
Anyway, what?
go on.
Oh, it's very different when it's one person making all those decisions and you know that they are maybe a little eccentric or a diva or something. It's kind of easier to be less emotionally attached to whatever you just worked on because like, oh, well, of course they don't like it. All right, whatever. We'll move on and do the next thing.
Okay.
But in a corporate environment, you can't trust. It isn't one person making all the shots, calling all the shots. It's a bunch of people who might not know what they're doing.
Okay.
Or might be really high up in the company, but you don't always agree with what they think,
Sure.
and you can't do anything about it.
Right.
And they might decide that, you know, my coworker just made a great example of he said that they will always sacrifice sound for prettiness.
Wow.
And if there is a great speaker system for a group, but they can't find a way to hide it well enough, then they will trash that in favor of something
that fits the same.
that fits whatever they
That
need, and it
might not be as high quality.
but it could ruin like the whole vibe of the show.
Wow.
That I'm not saying that happens all the time. Obviously, they have a standard that they.
But there's a
technically-
mandate, and the mandate is visual over.
It's not a mandate. It's just kind of how the company lately has functioned.
Gotcha.
So that kind of thing is tough. It's not really.
This also must be the first time you're working with not just a team, because a band can be a team, or a production crew. Like when you work with Beyonce and all those people, there are a lot of different moving parts: engineer, arranger, producer, orchestrator, band. But this must be the first time you're working with so many teams, like multiple teams working on the same thing.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I think that's the big difference is that when I'm on a project like that, everyone's kind of, for the most part, doing the music side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I might work with lighting or
Choreography or
yes, choreography, but also props, like stuff
okay.
like that.
Yeah.
But with this gig, I am the music representative on a team for an event or a show that is doing every element of that show.
Mm-hmm.
So we have operations, we have lighting, we have audio, we have
Props.
we have the art team, the producer, the production manager, the stage managers.
It's a massive team.
It's literally everything you can think of
Yeah.
for a show. Food sometimes.
Right.
So that's the real interesting part. I'm like the music representative who has to figure out how my part of things fits into this giant puzzle of creating this
And that's how they
huge
do
experience.
And that's how they do everything, right?
Everything.
Like everything is approached with this huge like phalanx of just like
Yeah,
like-
and because of that, me and the producer team, we never really work together because there's one music producer on every project.
Okay.
We're the representatives of our group, of our department.
Right.
So the only time we're really working together is if something we're doing crosses over. An example is John.
Yeah.
He is the music producer for the Dapper Dans, which is the very famous barbershop quartet that's been at Disneyland forever. And I just wrote a chart for the Disneyland band, the marching band there, that would feature the Dapper Dans. And so I got to work with John on that chart to make sure that it was,
Gotcha.
kosher for what they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not like we're really doing things together ever. We're not both working on the same arrangement or anything like that for the most part.
You know what was funny this weekend?
What?
This came as a shock to me. You're like, hey, I've got this gig. I need to practice the next couple of days. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the only time Chelsea says she needs to practice is when it's a classical gig.
Wow, thanks. Call out.
I'm serious. And I totally understand that as well. There's something about classical music. There's no room for error. There's not like, oh yeah, I'll just slide into this. No, it's like really specific notation, articulation, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, also with jazz, like it's something that you're preparedness depends on how long you've been playing jazz, really, or how much experience you have. The preparedness happened a long time ago and continues to happen all the time.
For jazz for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think in general. But in classical music, you're playing what's on the page. You don't get to influence at all really what you're...
Yeah, very little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
Interesting.
I have to learn the part. You know you're flipping me off, right?
Oh, sorry. That was not... It's not intentional, just...
I thought you were just suddenly like, God, this... No.
Wow.
I mean, I didn't know.
No.
Maybe you were trying to give me some...
Signals?
Yeah.
Like
you just shut up. I know I asked you on this podcast, but you're
I
talking
asked
way
you.
too much.
I asked you. Why would I tell you to shut up?
Anyway, classical music.
Yeah, just it's always funny to me when like you say, "Oh, I got to practice." I mean that lovingly. And I'm not mocking. I'm not mocking you for that because on that side of things, we are could not be more opposite. I think in terms of that, like it's weird, and I wish maybe it's something that will change for me. It was, making this new video about the basses I've played over my career, which I'm still producing for the main channel and filming and editing right now. It's interesting to remember how much of a security blanket a specific instrument was for me for the longest time. It was my first Federa, and then the second Federa, which ended up being a signature instrument, was initially only meant to be a backup instrument because I was like, I'm totally screwed if something happens to the first one. And thankfully, I got myself out of that. Like, I can pick up any bass now and just go play whatever I want and still sound like me. But I wonder if I'll ever get like that at some point with the practicing. I can't remember what it was recently, but there was something silly I had to do, like very low key, and I was like, oh, I've got to practice for a week for that. It's something like, technically, I didn't really. It's like Matheny, I think, has the most extreme version of that. Like, I remember interviewing a long time ago, doing an interview with him, and him saying, we showed up the first day to play. We recorded some duets for this radio show, and we were doing 3 days with him, I think it was. And we showed up, and I had my bass, and I was like super excited. It's my biggest hero of all time. I get to play with Pat Metheny. Oh my god! And we show up, and we start setting up, and I get my bass out, and he looks over like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Oh shit, is this not happening?" And the other producer on the thing was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to do the duets today." He's like, "Oh no, you didn't tell me. I didn't warm up." And the other producer, "Oh no, go take your time." And I said, "No, I need 2 hours." And he tells the story of going to his kid's school to play Mary Had a Little Lamb in the little school play, and got up at 7 a.m. and warmed up for 2 hours and walked a few blocks to the school. I think that's a little bit more extreme. But there's something about that. There's something about this feeling of being warm and ready to go. Which, all of that to say, it amazes me how effortless it is for you. You just pick up the bass and go play a gig. You might suffer a little bit afterwards with maybe a blister or muscles are sore or something, but in the moment it doesn't ever seem to affect your playing or the gig. Like, you get through the gig.
I think I'm also playing far less technically demanding gigs than you are.
Okay, maybe, but even so, that's like, you got to be on stage for an hour and a half still. It doesn't matter if you're playing Brown Eyed Girl and Mary Had a Little Lamb. I don't care. Or
I think
Countdown 26-2. It doesn't.
I think something that is beneficial for all rhythm section players, but especially bass players, is that you learn to be a workhorse from day one. Because
just because you work more as a bass player, you think, than most people?
Well, absolutely that, but also because you never stop playing in a whole song.
I see. Sorry, yeah.
No, definitely that too.
Comping,
but,
like drums and bass normally.
Right. The horns might play a soli, and then someone might play a solo, but they're
even
just
a piano player or a guitar player can lay out. And
totally, and you can't do that. And then also, in college, I was in a bunch more classes than my friends because they needed a rhythm section for the vocal technique class. And
100%. I was the same way.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey man, can you do my ensemble? How many times did people say that to us in school?
And the amount of recitals I played.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Was that time of year the worst part of the season?
I literally and I never said no. Why didn't I say no?
Same.
I literally almost failed some classes. I hated those classes anyway, but I couldn't.
By doing stuff for other people.
Because I didn't have the time to force myself to do the work because I was on freaking recital rehearsals.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that is where that comes from, I think.
Interesting.
I put in those years of practicing.
Oh shit! It only took me to being 44 years old to think of that. Thank you to realize that.
Yeah, that's. I think I got to a point in college where I was just playing. Maybe not too much, but I was playing so much that I knew that I never had to play that much ever again.
Right.
Like it just, I hit a point and I was like, okay, I kind of know what I'm doing now. Some of this, feels kind of like driving. Like it won't matter how long I stop.
Yeah.
When I start again, this level of my playing will always be there.
Interesting. Driving is one of the things Hal Crook uses as an example. Like, you're driving along and a kid walks out in front of the car, you're going to hit the brake. Mm-hmm. Nothing is going to stop you from hitting the brake. Nothing. Everything is designed. All of your experience is designed to hit the brake. You will do that. Or you will swerve. You will do everything you can to avoid it. And his goal is always to be like, that is how reactive you have to be with music. It has to be that natural. That you don't think.
Yeah,
there's
that's a great way to put it. Because that's
no time to think.
Right.
If you think, it's over. If you think, it's dishonest. If you think, you really, because you've started to force some idea in there and be like, mix it. Chromatic. I could play an up. No, has to be instant or not at all.
Yeah.
And his other thing was maybe use the second thought that you have. Or the third thought, and it's a common thing amongst a lot of people.
That's a writing thing too.
A writing, literary, you mean, like actual writing words? Yeah.
But I think that's a great way to put that, because I think the level of bass that I play, or the level of gigs that I do, the kinds of gigs I do, that is how I feel. Right. Like I don't step in holes. I don't.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't make common mistakes. I don't know.
You don't randomly fall down on the sidewalk.
Yeah, and like I think because I was playing myself into the ground at that point, I learned how to do all these things on no sleep, like multiple nights of no sleep, in very high stress situations with a lot of pressure on me. And when you do that, it really does just become. Yeah,
I got to say, you seem to only be stressed out in like leaving for the gig. I think it's fair to say you're quite. No, I'm
terrible at leaving on time.
I mean, I don't want to like call you out on a podcast in front of thousands of people, but let me call you out on a podcast in front of thousands of people.
No, it's absolutely true.
No,
I'll pop up to that.
Sure. I think that's fair to say. You like generally run a little bit behind, and that is the bit that stresses you out. Like, I'm out of. But once you're out of the house and you're on the run and getting on, you don't worry about that, as far as I can tell, right?
Unless it's a gig like this one. The ones that I practice for are the ones that that will freak me out.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. But yes, I don't remember the last time I was nervous.
Yeah.
For a gig.
Like, okay, I am nervous for you so much. Like, I don't think I've ever told you this, but
what?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know if that's
sit here worrying for you on the gig, because the bass doesn't leave the gig bag from one month to the next. But I worry a little bit, and of course, as soon as I start to worry, that the thought comes in that, oh no, she knows all these tunes. If she doesn't know the tunes, her ears are so freaking big that she's going to know them by the first verse. Like, there are all those other things that I, of course, know about you. But I think it's because the approach is so different from mine. Yeah. And I just know what I know for so many years, that to see that, like, I've never been around another bass player this much, let's say, ever. Yeah. Even though some of my best friends are bass players and I've spent time on the road and hanging, it's nothing like this. You don't see the inner workings of insert name of anyone, Tim LaFave, Juan Alderete, like whoever, Nate East. I don't see the inner workings of them as well as I know them. So it's very, very interesting from my side to watch that.
Very interesting. I really like this car analogy, the driving and swerving analogy, because I am a far better bass player, at least in my genres, my comfortable genres. I am a far better bass player when I've taken many weeks off of the instrument than I am when I've been playing it nonstop.
Wow.
Because
like your buffer gets full?
My buffer gets full. I think the ADHD kicks in, and it's not like...
Are you not into it as much? Is there something like that?
It's not that I'm not into it. It's that my brain really feels like it can kind of start to turn off. Even if I'm having fun.
Like the concentration thing?
Yeah. So when I'm it really doesn't even feel like I'm rusty. It's that all of those instincts that are way deep in there are the first thing that happen. And on top of that, I have like my musical palette is very fresh and open.
Yeah.
And so I start to like hear different things and do different things than I'm used to, because I'm not falling into the same like, oh, I played this like yesterday, it's already in my head, I'm going to play it today, then I play it the next day, then I play it the fourth day. And
wow.
It's very freeing.
Oh, that's really cool. Seriously, I've not thought about it that way. And that's gonna give me less anxiety for you when you leave the house for a gig. Christ. This is awesome.
Thanks.
It's all right now. You don't leave the house for gigs so much anymore.
I don't. No. But the irony that the very first gig that your mother and your sister are coming to see is this one that I'm nervous as shit about. So
wow. So my family's gonna be there and everything.
Great.
Wow. Well, maybe that'll be one where they stay home and babysit, and it'll just be me that comes out.
That's worse. No, you stay home and babysit. They'll come.
Wow.
Yeah, no.
It's crazy how close I came to coming to your TV show.
Oh my God, why do you bring that up?
I love that. Chelsea used to be the musical director on a TV show, and a friend of mine was playing on it, and I was like, oh, let me go down and check that out. And I didn't go. It was a little while before we met. But I really wish, I think back to that and really wish I'd done that now.
I'm glad you didn't, because it might have changed everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, shit.
I don't understand. I'm glad you didn't have changed everything.
Hey, Siri, I'm glad I didn't have changed everything as well.
Siri, thank you
for that's
having an opinion.
So good.
Dear God.
Okay, I think we'll wrap it up on that. I didn't come and see you play on TV.
You didn't.
Here we are with a kind of awesome kid who's a vibes player at 15 months old.
Lord help us. I was praying for a piano player.
She'll have to work on that as well if she plays vibes, for sure.
I don't.
If she wants to work.
As long as she doesn't play drum set, for the love of God.
Yeah.
I already spent my whole life getting my ears blown out.
Around your dad, yeah. Well, I'm glad you fought off the sleepiness and talked about your new job. I was really excited to share that with everyone. And we'll bring back some two-bass hit, a little seasonal two-bass hit at some point on the podcast channel. If you're not watching on YouTube, go over to the Janek Gwizdala podcast channel, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe to the main channel. We're going for 100,000 subscribers by April 2023, on the way to 1 million. It's going to open some doors. I get to come out there and play some real music for you.
Woohoo. And hey, if you come watch on YouTube, you'll see an adorable dog.
And a cute cat.
Super cute cat.
Yeah.
A couple of our dumb faces.
Yeah. And slowly we're changing the studio around and making it. I'm gonna get another boom stand for this mic because I can't hold this for an hour again.
Yeah,
this is ridiculous. Yeah. All right, that's it. We'll see you cats on the next one.
Bye, friends. Good to see you again.
Bye.